Welcome to Labor Lounge Podcast. I'm Anthony Abrantes, Assistant Executive Secretary Treasurer of the Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters, the Carpenters Union.
And I'm Cyndie Williams, Executive Director of the CCT. Together as your co-hosts, we'll explore the world of organized labor, bringing you behind-the-scenes stories and insights from inspiring union leaders, dedicated partners, and community change makers. In each episode, we dive into authentic conversation to uncover what unions are really about beyond the headlines and the myths.
Whether you're new to the movement or a union ally, our conversation showcasing diverse voices and real-life stories will explore union hurdles, triumphs, labor's rich history, its role in workforce development, all while shedding light on how unions create lasting change and foster economic growth and creating generational wealth.
Join us as we build a broader coalition, elevate future generations, and showcase how unions contribute to creating a positive cultural legacy.
Tune in, get informed, and find out how organized labor is making a difference.
Welcome. Today we're joined by Phil Radomski, Chairman, and Mary Kate Radomski, President, Radomski and Sons Incorporated. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Labor Lounge.
Thank you for having us.
Founded in 1922, Frank V. Radomski and Sons Incorporated has been a cornerstone of construction in our region for over a century. The company has evolved alongside the communities it serves, specializing in industrial and commercial construction. Joining us today are Philip Radomski, Chairman who brings decades of experience leading the company's diverse portfolio, and Mary Kate Radomski, President, the first woman to lead the firm, who focuses on workforce development, employee engagement, and creating career pathways in the trades. We're excited to hear from both of them today about the company's history, its workforce, and how they're shaping the future of construction careers in the region. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Good morning. Thanks for being here.
Great.
And like Cyndie mentioned, Phil B. Radomski and Sons has been around for quite some time, over 100 years.
Correct.
Can you give us some insight on some historical milestones and really kind of how this thing's evolved? Because obviously from the beginning till now, the world is quite different.
I'll give you the abridged version. But in 1922, my grandfather started the business. He was very young. He was 20 years old. He did storefronts in the Bridesburg and Nicetown areas of the city of Philadelphia. Depression hit, obviously, and there was no work. That kind of work didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
He had a very young family. My father was only 10 years old at the time. So he had a truck, so he ran coal, basically out of the coal regions of Pennsylvania down to Philadelphia. And that's how he kept his family fed. Depression went through and he started regaining his footing and started doing a lot of work for the Archdiocese of Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
We did a lot of schools, a lot of churches for the Archdiocese. The war came. My father was 18 years old at the time. Went into the Army. My grandfather started doing industrial construction. We did a lot of work for chemical facilities. We did a lot of work for manufacturing facilities that helped the war effort. In 1947, my father got out of the Army, finished his degree at Drexel University with a degree in civil engineering, and came to work for the company. And they expanded their footprint. And I'm not going to tell you it was always smooth sailing. There were some very, very tough times,
mm-hmm.
especially in the early 70s. There were some very difficult times.
Yeah.
There was a lot of competition. It was tough to make a dollar. There wasn't a lot of work out there. And then things turned around. We grew. My brothers, I have 4 older brothers. Who basically started to join the company in the early 70s. My brother Frank was in the military, he was in the Army, he was in Korea, and basically joined the company when he got out of the Army. Then my brother Bill joined, my brother Larry joined, then I joined, and my brother Steve joined. We all have our niches. I went to school for engineering, Larry went to school for finance, Steve went to school for finance. And my brother Steve takes care of the books. He takes care of the accounting end of it. Larry takes care of the project manager end of it. He does a lot of pharmaceutical work. Frank and Bill have retired. And basically, we had a transition from a 3rd generation to a 4th generation. That's where Mary Kate came down. So
Welcome, Mary Kate. It's so exciting. When I had the pleasure to eat lunch with you at one of our open houses in Philadelphia, I really just got a little bit of a taste of, your company's history, and I think we just connected. You're so heavily involved in the board for Philadelphia Regional Council of Carpenters Training Center, and just, you know, a fabric of the community of Philadelphia for many years. Mary Kate, you know, we've also met at open house. I know you're just around. You're around. You're involved. You evolve with us as we change, and, you know, generationally speaking, I'd love to hear more about your family's company, kind of how it all came together and how you make the sausage. So maybe you could just tell me a little bit more about the company.
Well, so my grandfather resigned back in the early 60s. My father took over. He had 2 brothers and a sister involved in the company, but my father was a majority stakeholder in the company. And he basically was so well respected in the industry. He was a member of the Carpenters Company of Philadelphia. He was also a member of the General Building Contractors Association in Philadelphia. And one thing I learned sitting around the dinner table was you give back to the industry. He was very involved in manpower and training with the AGC of America. And he always thought that the next generation was where you had to think. You couldn't stay in the present. You had to always think ahead. And if anything I learned from my father is you have to know what the next, where is everything going to go? Because as you get older, you realize that there aren't many people my age left in the industry. Another thing I learned from my father is you need to know how to build. One thing I find lacking, especially in some of the college courses today, I don't mean to pick on colleges and universities, but they are focused on the management side of construction rather than the building side of construction. And I find that is going to become a problem as things move along, because there are very few contractors out there that know how to build.
Yeah.
And we're builders. And that's what I'm trying to teach the next generation, is how to build. I find that it's very difficult to walk onto a construction site and tell your carpenters or your laborers or your pipe fitters or your electricians what to do if you don't know it yourself. If you don't know how they do their job, I don't know how you tell them. I don't know how you can manage that.
Right.
Your risk level goes through the roof.
Sure.
And so I have 40 years of experience behind me. I know how to build. A lot of the clients that we have come to me because of that. We know how to build. And I wear it as a badge of honor. I know it sounds a little conceited, and I apologize if it does, but it took a long time to get here. And I'm proud of that. I'm very proud of that. And I'm proud that our company knows how to build.
Sure.
I'm very proud of that.
Well, I think it's important to note too that we take our legacy very seriously, but we don't see tradition and innovation as opposites. We can grow with the industry and the values on which our company was built. But what changes how we deliver those values and how he teaches us how to build and how we modernize the industry with safety practices and continuing education. And you just have to keep learning because the industry is changing.
Sure.
And you're right, like we are one of the last self-performing contractors who knows how to build. And I think keeping that tradition alive is very important.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think to that point, you were talking about the workforce, like from one generation to another and how we maintain that. But the reality is you have such a long history internally amongst yourselves and your family. You know, what did that change look like from you to Mary Kate, who is now actually trying to reinforce what you just said?
Well, actually, it was one of the smoothest transitions I've ever seen, because
It's pretty easy, yeah.
when my father passed away in 1989 suddenly, he had a heart condition. He passed away. Then my uncle took over. My uncle retired, and then my brother. I guess hierarchy is age in the family. So my brother Frank took over as president. Then brother Bill took over as president, and Larry and Steve really did not want it. So I kind of took over as president at that time, and my brother Larry and I had we basically trusted the next generation. We trusted the next, and we grew exponentially in the last 10 years. We really have, because we trust the next generation. We don't mind, passing that along, and we'll feed you as much as you can handle. And so when, I'm in my early 60s now, and I'm thinking about retirement.
Yeah.
You need a transition plan. If this company is going to continue, then we needed a transition plan. Mary Kate worked. It really worked. She has the connections in the industry. She understands the industry. She's been doing this since what, 2012?
Yeah, I was just
Full
going to ask you,
time,
how
yeah.
long
So
have you been
it's funny because I worked there part time in like 8th grade, like doing admin stuff. But yeah, 2012 pretty much, part time, and then I jumped on full time in like 2015.
So it just worked, and it's an easy transition. It really was there was no power struggles. There was no internal struggles. It was just a very easy transition, and everyone kind of accepted it. It knows that's the next generation. And it's working. That's all I can say. It's working.
Sure. Just thinking about how connected you are, like I mentioned before, you're so heavily involved in our apprenticeship training. How do you connect to young people and deliver your message for your company, and how to connect as far as, I know it's a situation where contractors are all vying for the best talent in the trades. How do you connect?
I can give you my spiel that I give to all the apprentices on their first day.
Oh, you don't want to hear that.
I tell them, the first thing I tell them is that stop. If you think this is a job, you can leave now. That this is the best training facility in the country, if not the world. We spare no expense for the training materials, the equipment, the instructors, for these students. Because as a contractor, I want the best trained, the safest, and the most productive people out there. And contractors are willing to spend the money, the union's willing to spend the money to do that. And I said, if you think this is a job, it's not a job, it's a career. And the minute you walk into this facility, you are now a professional. You're as good as any lawyer, you're as good as any doctor, you're as good as any accountant that comes out of a university.
Well, and I also think it's important to note that a lot of young people aren't presented with construction as a viable career option. Right. And so I really go out of my way to partner with local schools and community organizations to teach these kids, like, hey, it's being like, some kids just aren't cut out for college. They're not. And don't spend your money on something that you don't actually want when you could be making 6 figures as a carpenter, as an electrician, as a pipe fitter. And there's so many careers in construction that I don't think these kids are being presented with. And our program is so accredited and so good that I think the industry as a whole has to work a little bit harder on just partnering with these schools and especially underprivileged communities and showing these kids that don't really feel like they have a choice that you can have a really, really rewarding career in construction.
Sure. Yeah. There's a real turning point with workforce retiring, the need for talent. We're never short for a need of talent because we pay a livable wage, right, with the union. But connecting to schools, connecting to parents, helping them to understand and realize that this is a career that you can hang your hat on, that you can be proud of. It's all a part of the recipe. And thank you for being in the community and involved as a contractor, because we need that third-party validation as well.
Yeah, and I think it's a cultural thing, right? Because you had a couple generations that just were only afforded the opportunity. College is your only option, right? Yeah. And thank God we had some people that kind of filled that gap. But when we talk about labor shortage, like that's where the labor shortage is, right? I don't necessarily think it's now because it's kind of the pendulum swinging back. But we definitely need to do a better job to talking parents, schools, and guidance counselors, because this should be an option. It should be on the table. And now, this, if you want college incorporated into this, we can throw that in as well, right? Yeah. It's the best of both worlds. Like, so you don't have to sacrifice one for the other. And I don't necessarily think people realize, like, the compensation's great. Obviously, you got to work hard. You got to keep your head down. You got to be productive, right? But the compensation's great, the safety standards that are in place, and you have the ability to retire. Right?
Yes.
How many industries in white-collar America can you say, well, I know at 52, if we're in Philadelphia, or 55, I can retire? It's unheard of. No. Right? If people knew that, we could get so many more people interested in trades and bring that much more talent to the trades. And you're not pigeonholed into being on the job site. You can be a project manager, you can be an estimator, you can be an entrepreneur, you can be whatever you want, right? It's what you make of it.
Yeah, don't limit yourself to what a construction career looks like. Exactly.
Yep.
And what you bring to the table is you're one step ahead of everybody because you know how to build. You knew what it took to get that material in the building. You knew what it took to put that material in place. You knew what it took to get the building completed. Yep. And that's what a lot of the kids who directly go to college don't understand.
Yeah. I want to go back to something before we move forward.
Sure.
Culture and generational differences. So what we've seen in the industry in the time I've been here is when there's a transition from, grandparents to parents to their children, they change the culture of what the company was founded on, right? And for you guys, it's you want to be profitable, you want to be productive, you want to bring a good product to your client, but you also create good jobs at the same time. Mm-hmm. I feel like new generations, when they take over, they sacrifice the last piece, which is we're going to maintain all those other things, but if we can cut corners and we could sacrifice wages and benefits, safety, we're going to save money there, and we're going to put that money in our pocket. What makes you guys different, and why do you believe in union labor?
I think because what you just said is cutting corners on things like safety and things that are important. Like, yes, you could save money there, but you're going to end up losing money later on when somebody gets hurt or your job isn't finished correctly. And cutting corners doesn't get you anywhere. And you learn that because that's what makes us profitable.
The whole story is you're only as good as your last job.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
I love playing offense. I hate playing defense. And for those who have been in construction, when you go to that project meeting and the owner or the client wants to know, why isn't this done? Why was it done this way? Why is this? Why? You're on defense.
Yeah.
It's hard to play defense. You play offense. And you never want me to come to a final inspection because I am the worst. I'll critique our work harder than anybody else. Why was it done this way? Why does it look like this? Why isn't this perfect?
And that's why our clients keep coming back, though, because they know that Radomski will always deliver that product.
Sure.
And what I just said, like, if we start cutting corners on things, if we start playing defense, our clients aren't going to call us anymore. That's why we're successful.
I'll tell every apprentice out there, I said, you have to be the best. And I'm going to get myself in trouble with this one of these days, but I say, you are union carpenters. You are the best of the best. Don't ever tell me that's good enough.
Yep.
Don't ever tell me that, because I will. That's where my anger comes up. I say, I want the best. If I'm paying you the best wages and the best benefits, and I have no problem with that, but if that's the case, I want the best.
Yeah. And listen, at the end of the day, that's the only thing that separates us from the non-union side is our training, our productivity, our professionalism, our skill set. Otherwise, we're no different. And if we can't bring that to our employers, then that's not a real partnership. So the one thing I would want to ask is you employ so many trades, right? How important is it for labor and management to be on the same page? What does that partnership look like? And listen, your success is our success and vice versa. People don't know that.
We are connected at the hip.
Yeah.
And I tell everybody this. We are connected at the hip. Your success is my success. My success is your success. And it's great. It's great that I can pick up the phone and call one of the business managers and say, listen, I need 3 guys that are drug trained, that have OSHA 30, who can go into a chemical plant or to a pharmaceutical plant, and I don't have to worry about it because they have the skill set that's there. If I'm a non-union guy, we're not going to put ads on LinkedIn to try to get carpenters who say, yeah, I have a toolbox, but they have no idea what safety is. They have no idea what productivity is. They have no idea how to use the tools that they're given safely. And safety is key for our company. My son actually is our safety manager, and he went to school for occupational safety and environmental health. He has a CSP, one of the youngest ones I've ever learned to get a CSP. And he takes safety very seriously, so seriously. And we do for the clients that we work for. Safety is king. I tell the apprentices, I said, listen, you're green. You're not going to understand something. You're not going to feel comfortable doing something. You're going to have your phone in your hand. You're going to lose your concentration, and that's when accidents happen, because they happen in a blink of an eye.
Sure.
They happen fast.
Yeah. It sounds like you're protecting the legacy of your company that's been around since 1922. You're working with the right partners. You're a cornerstone business in the city of Philadelphia and beyond. What do you do to connect to community leaders, elected officials, to show and prove that this recipe works? Union labor works. Connection to management and labor partners work.
What we do mostly is through our clients. Our clients, so we are also members of the General Building Contractors Association and the ACCNJ of New Jersey, the Contractors Association in New Jersey. And I happen to sit as the chairman of the General Building Contractors Association Government Affairs Committee. So I understand what getting our message out there means to not only union construction, but to the unions themselves and to the union contractors, that we can present a better quality product, that we do give living wages to our people. We give benefits to our people. I have people who start with me their first day of apprenticeship and retire with me 30, 35 years later. I'm proud of that.
I think it's also important to note in terms of community leaders, what do elected officials love seeing more than community wealth? And when our industry and the community leaders work together and collaborate, when labor and management collaborate, that results in safer job sites, it results in better training, it results in apprenticeship programs, and it results in real pathways to careers that then benefit the community as a whole.
And constituents that
So
can
if you make it, look how this is going to benefit the
city
city if you invest in us, you know? So let us help you and you can help us.
Sure. We pay better wages, we give better benefits, and there's a reason for that, because we're the best. And I'm not embarrassed by that one. I'm happy about that. I have a lot of employees that have started their first day with me and ended their last day with me. And how many carpenters do you know basically just have one W-2 every day?
Right.
That there aren't many.
Yeah, and not just carpenters. I mean, in any industry nowadays, if you can find somebody that could stick out a career for 30 years with one employer, it's unheard of. I mean, people are constantly bouncing around. This is probably one of the few industries, particularly because of the union component, where somebody does stay with one employer.
Our longest tenured employee is a laborer.
Yeah.
And he's well into his 60s now. And we let him take off when he wants to take off because he can retire whenever he wants. But he's a really good laborer. So we keep him around and he likes us and we like him and we've got a really good understanding. And it's all about building those relationships with your employees.
It says a lot about your company.
Yeah, and I think one of the big misconceptions is just in construction in general is the cost associated with union labor. And that's a narrative that kind of gets sold to elected officials like, oh, well, we can't build this building in our community because the developer's telling us it's going to be too expensive, right? But at the end of the day, we're going to build it quicker, we're going to build it faster, we're going to build it safer. There's a community benefit component to it. And not only are we creating opportunities for that particular individual, right? And maybe they're coming from an underserved community, but you might have just changed their lives, their families' lives, and created generational wealth that they never had or would have had, right?
Exactly.
There's no other industry that does that. And I know, listen, we fight the fight all the time. We try to educate people. Sometimes, and I know you guys have a reputation, and that is like your voice, but sometimes I think union employers need to do a better job of telling their story so they can combat the fact that, yeah, we pay a little more, but we're in the business of making money and we're profitable and we could do both at the same time.
And I always say it all the time with union labor is you get what you pay for. Are we a little bit more expensive? Absolutely. But you just said we're going to make it safer, correctly, on time, on budget, on schedule. And you're going to pay a little bit more for it, but it's going to be worth it. You know?
So I don't know if you have this data or not, but the General Building Contractors Association did a very
study,
I guess, about safety in the construction industry. The General Building Contractors Association members are over 60% safer than their non-union competition in the Philadelphia market.
Yeah.
100%.
And we're not afraid to spend the money on safety because no one wants to see anybody get hurt.
Yeah.
Like I say, these people have worked for me for decades, and to see someone get hurt, it's their family. It's like someone in your family got hurt. It's so, you never want to see that. So we're willing to spend top dollar and do what needs to be done to make it safe.
Yeah, it's probably one of the biggest cliches in the industry is we want you to come home from work the exact same way you showed up to work.
Sure.
And it is a cliche and we do say it all the time, but it's true. And I think that's why we say it all the time. It's just to hammer it home is we want everyone to be safe on the job site and we will invest in your safety.
Yeah.
And I tell the apprentices, I'm not doing it to be mean. Wear your gloves, wear your glasses, wear your hard hats, because it's for you. It's for your family.
Right. You don't look like cool because you're not wearing your safety glasses, you know? Like just wear them. It's for you.
Yeah. It's amazing to me that you do have to convince folks to stay safe and still have to ask them to put their gloves on when they're dealing with metal or metal shavings. But at the end of the day, I think they want to be productive as well, and sometimes they find these things can get in their way, and you just have to constantly remind that it's we're out there working with you and helping you stay safe.
So we're not doing it to be mean or aggravating.
Yeah.
We're doing it for your own benefit. Why fight the fight? I mean, really. So, and if the owner's willing to pay that for that,
Yeah.
Why do you want to buck that trend?
Yeah, right.
And how many older folks do you talk to that you have to scream to have a conversation as you're
Exactly.
now having that
Exactly. Or their
talk?
knees are shot, or their back
Yeah.
is shot.
They were heroes back in the day, but now they can't hear what you're saying.
Yep.
You know? So
So just to reflect back on like what the industry needs and kind of where it's heading, and we talked about the shortfalls we've had, the lack of people wanting to get into the trades. What we've seen over the last several years is that there is an influx of people wanting to get back in, right? Market share obviously plays a big part of that. But from an employer's perspective, if you were to talk to young folks that want to get into industry, maybe they don't know about the union, maybe don't know about construction or apprenticeship, what guidance would you give somebody young coming into the construction industry and what the expectations are?
I already said it. I said it already on this podcast, is don't limit yourself to what a career in construction looks like. There's so much more than meets the eye. I would also say don't be afraid to start at the ground level.
Yep.
Start as a laborer, take the carpenter's test, be an apprentice, become a carpenter, become a project manager. Some of the best leaders in the industry that I know started from the ground level. So don't be afraid to do that. And don't be afraid to ask questions. As someone who does, aside from being around it my whole life, as someone who doesn't necessarily have a quote unquote construction background, you really learn by doing and you learn by asking questions. So one of the biggest disservices you can do to yourself is just ask the question. You know, if you want to get involved, ask somebody who you think who's in the industry. Ask a carpenter. Ask your uncle who's a project manager. You know, like it's so deeply rooted. Like it's not just construction workers, quote unquote. So just don't limit yourself to just that. Like really take a deep dive into the industry and see all the different opportunities.
sure.
18 years old. Right when I graduated high school, guess where I was working? I was working as a laborer.
I was a laborer. He had me being a laborer.
to your point, nowadays everybody's driving towards college, and there's no example at home of somebody who is that tradesperson. That there are people out there that maybe came from a background, I'm included, where we had parents that had suit and ties on, but it didn't quite feel the fit. And we needed those questions answered because we were curious.
When I was a little
and came
kid, like
into the trade,
little,
so-
like probably 6 or 7, people would ask me like, what do your parents do for a living? Mom was easy. Mom's a teacher. For the longest time, my dad was construction worker because I didn't know I don't know what running a construction company did as a kid, you know? So that's why like you really can't limit yourself to just construction worker. It's such a deeply rooted field.
Well, my father was my father was a gentleman. He was very well respected in the industry. In fact, one of his competitors gave his eulogy at his funeral. That's how well respected he was. And I always thought he ran a construction business. You're a professional. You are, he wore a suit and tie every day to work. You can't do that anymore, obviously, because, and so many people have this misconception that you're owning construction, you're working out of the back of a pickup truck. You're not working. You're as professional. That's why I tell the apprentices, you are as professional as any doctor, any lawyer that comes out of college.
Oh yeah.
There are very few people in this world that have your skill set. They come to you. The doctors and lawyers are going to come to you. They're not doing it themselves.
Yeah.
I say, this is a skill set that you need to be proud of, and you need to wear it. Own it. Okay?
Sure.
Act like the professionals you are. Don't sell yourself short because I'm a carpenter, or I'm a laborer, or I'm an electrician, or I'm a plumber, or I'm a pipe fitter. No, wear it with a badge of honors because there's very few people in this world that can do what you do.
Well, and I think like to compare it to a doctor and a lawyer, you also make the same lasting impact on your community as a doctor or a lawyer. You can drive through Center City and say, hey, I built that. Or I worked in Penn Medicine. I'm helping save lives, like
you're building space for doctors and lawyers and everybody
exactly.
else.
We work in shop. Like you really are benefiting your community. There's so many construction opportunities that make a lasting impact on the community.
One of the things I always say, it's probably one of the few industries where like you're literally bringing, we call it a blue collar industry, but at the end of the day, you're bringing blue collar and white collar together, right? Because you have the construction site, then you have the office component, and if there's no collaboration there, it just doesn't work.
Exactly.
And probably the most important thing, and I said it on one of the first podcasts we ever had, I don't necessarily think we appreciate what we've done for society as an economic driver, right?
No, we do not.
We're building the roads, the bridges that people are using to get to and from work, leisure, their family, their friends. We're building hospitals. We're building office buildings. We're building residential buildings. Without any of that, nothing else exists.
Oh, I say
right?
it all the time when I go and talk to like elementary schoolers to try to get them
Yeah.
involved. I said, everything around you, look around you, the roads,
Yep.
the parking lot that you parked in, the door that you opened to get into your classroom, all of that is construction.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
How many babies' books and young kids' books are all about the truck and
Yeah, moving
yeah,
dirt.
it's not
Yeah.
just dump
Dirt,
truck.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
every single thing around you. It's the ceiling.
Yeah.
It's the wallpaper.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
great.
So it's the impact. I always learned this from my father, is you have to get back to this industry. You have to get back. And there's so many few people that do, and I don't mind it. Does it take time? Absolutely, It takes time. But without teaching people or getting out there and having that impact on the next generation, we're in trouble. We're going to be in a lot of trouble. And this country was
We
always
need the
built
workforce,
on
yes.
the workforce. It always was built on the workforce, and it still is,
Sure.
as far as I'm concerned. So
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for choosing to use union labor on your projects. And
it's
your
a 100-year,
partnership
it's a 100-year
Yeah.
plus legacy. I'm sorry, but that's,
Really.
we're
It really is a great legacy that we're both leading together. So.
yeah.
Yeah, and to hear the ebbs and flows of your company's history, because it literally ties into American history, right?
Exactly.
You don't really see that anymore. So it's a blessing. We're really grateful for the partnership we have. We understand that, to my point earlier, we don't exist without this type of partnership. And we respect that you guys appreciate the hard work that our members put into this. And we just need to keep fighting together as an industry.
absolutely do.
But thank you for what you guys are both doing. And it's great to see generational change, for the better.
Right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank
Great,
you.
Thank you.